Well, let's get in another word on this horrific news that are getting read. Let's speak to Mr. G.S. Rajan, who had the opportunity to play with Pandit Ravi Shankar, who's now on the phone line with us. Mr. Rajan, appreciate you joining us at a time like this. I believe you got the opportunity to play with the sitar icon. What memories can you share with us, sir? Mr. Rajan, can you hear me?
Yeah. In fact, I got the golden opportunity to play in front of him, not to play with him. He's the greatest of the greatest musicians I have ever come across. And as far as Indian classical music is concerned, I think it's Ravi Shankar who opened up all the venues and possibilities for all the musicians all over the world. It's he who first performed in Europe, took all the musicians, including Shiv Kumar Sharmaji, Hariprasad Chaurasi, Chaurasiya Sahab, T.V. Gopal Krishnan, Palakkad Raghu, all these masters. It's he who introduced them to Europe and America and opened up a big market for Indian classical music. And it's a great job. But he lived almost 100 years, so, and one of the most successful musicians I have ever seen, including the Beatles were his disciples.
So, coming from where you're coming from, let me ask you this about his style. He had a style distinct from that of all his contemporaries. He's incorporated influences, not just from the country, from Carnatic music, but also from Europe, also from America. And that is what sets the man apart, doesn't it?
Yeah. And even tradition, we talk about tradition of Carnatic music or Hindustani music. Without innovation, even tradition can become stagnant. So he did a lot of innovations and brought in a lot of new ideas to Indian music, but without forsaking the classical way. Once I was doing a fusion music and I played the recording to him, and the first remark came to me from him was that don't ever go across from our roots. And I still keep that as a golden word, and whatever innovation or experimentation I do, I keep that as a mantra for my composition.
Well, the man has passed away, sir, but his music clearly is something that's going to live on. Any kind of anecdote, any kind of personal incident, perhaps an incident is what I mean, that you can share with us and our viewers, just to give us a window into what Pandit Ravi Shankar was actually like, sir.
Well, I again got a golden opportunity after I resigned from the Sangeet Natak Academy as Deputy Secretary. I got a call at midnight from San Diego, and at that time I was in Delhi, and he said, come and join and help me out with the Ravi Shankar Center to establish. So I was the first manager of the Ravi Shankar Center. Being the manager of the center, I had the rarest of rare opportunity to meet him every day, talk to him, take him out for a ride in Delhi. We used to love Khan Market and things like that. So that a lot of proximity, and every time he only talked about music and his experience. So that was a golden opportunity for me, and I will always remember that, cherish those memories.
Okay, Mr. G.S. Rajan, appreciate you joining us here. We're also getting more reactions as far as this news that we're sharing with you is concerned. Let's also get in Pandit Vishwu Mohan Bhatt, who's now on the phone line with us. So unfortunate news is what we're sharing with our viewers this morning here on Headlines Today. Pandit Ravi Shankar, the sitar icon, no more. Your thoughts, sir?
Hello.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear.
So what I'm trying to ask you is, we're talking about an icon who's passed away, a void that's obviously cannot be filled. Your thoughts, sir, on this news coming in?
Today is the saddest day in the history of Indian classical music in India. The great maestro, Bharat Ratna, Grammy Award winner, so many award-winning artists passed away, which is unbelievable. And it's a personal loss to me also, because he was so loving, so caring, and so nice to every disciple of him, including me. And I am very fortunate that I had to I had the opportunity to learn from him like this, and he was like a very personal guru, and who used to share everything with me. And he was such a great human being, such a wonderful musician. He collaborated with the top musicians of the world. And George Harrison, he took us to even the George Harrison, the Beatles home to play, to perform. I was lucky to go there with him. And many times we traveled together sometimes. Even in the aircraft he used to teach. And he was such a, he was like a fatherly character to me, who used to ask me, what problems do you have? This kind of personal attachment he had with me. And his wife, Sukanya ji, I would like to say that she did everything for him. She was the one who kept him alive for 92 years. Otherwise, it was difficult for him to survive till this. So I will give all the credit to Sukanya ji, his wife, my Guruma, who did so much for him. And as a human being, he was a superb person. As a guru, he was a wonderful person. As a musician, he collaborated with so many top-ranking musicians of the world like Pavarotti, Rampal, George Harrison, Yehudi Menuhin, and who else? Everybody was eager to collaborate with him, so that, you know, they wanted the best musician from India.
So we understand it's an emotional time for you. We appreciate you taking time out and speaking to us here on Headlines today. I think we've got Javed Akhtar, renowned lyricist, now on the phone line with us. Mr. Akhtar, it's obviously an emotional time for everyone who knew Pandit Ravi Shankar in their own capacities, in the way that they did. Your thoughts on this big vacuum that has been left by the passing away of the sitar icon, sir?
Well, at the moment, one feels that as if Indian classical music has become orphan today. He was really a father figure. He was a giant. He was not just a great musician and a great person, but a kind of a bridge between Indian music and the rest of the world. He was the ambassador of Indian music. You know, he took sitar, he took Indian classical music to the world, and the West, for the first time, came to know about this great treasure called Indian classical music. Everybody in the music world, whether he was connected directly or indirectly, would look up to him as some kind of a father figure or a leader. You know, recently we have been in touch constantly because of our copyright issue and the bill, and he was such a great help, and he led us, as a matter of fact. He wrote letters to the Prime Minister, to Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, to Mr. Arun Jaitley, to Sushma Swaraj, and so on, that these laws should change and Indian writers and composers should get their due and so on. And I'm quite convinced that his voice mattered a lot. He was constantly in touch with us, and I mean, it's a great loss to Indian music, to India unity. I mean, there was a man that made all of us proud that we are Indians.
So it's interesting that
a great loss.
It's interesting that you point out that this is a man, through his music, he was the bridge between Indian music and Western music.
Yes, he was.
He was, and in more senses than one, when he began to tour Europe and America, sir, playing Indian classical music, he increased its popularity there. Something
obviously,
the likes of
he was the first one to open the doors. You know, he introduced Indian classical music to the world, and then obviously, I mean, there were many people who followed and contributed towards it. But he was the pioneer, and besides that, he had so much of dignity, relevance to Indian classical music in recent times, where people don't have time for such fine art and so on, and their priorities are different. But Ravi Shankar is a name that created awe and respect in every mind, every heart.
And that's the thing, it's not just about music, sir, is it, at the end of the day? You're talking about many awards, be it Grammys, be it the Bharat Ratna, but the role of a parliamentarian, something that you also share with, something about responsibility, living responsibly, not just doing something for your music, but for your own country as well.
That's true, that's true. He was really a goodwill ambassador of India. Wherever he went, I mean, he just drew admiration and respect and awe, and then extremely, even at this age, he was so enthusiastic, so energetic, looking forward, as a matter of fact, making plans, thinking what can be done, and so on and so forth. Even in spite of his such poor health, he was willing to come with us. He attended press conferences, he spoke there, and relating to everybody. Whoever came in his contact would always remember that he would speak to people with such love and respect and admiration, as if he is some kind of an admirer. That made him even more.
Yes, sir. So Javed, sir, let me also ask you this. It's one thing to get exposed to Western culture. Everybody has that opportunity. Most people do. But it's another thing to imbibe it, to bring it into your own music, to bring it into your own culture and put it on the world map for everyone to see and applaud.
And gave so much to, as a matter of Western musicians, all these Western musicians who were worshipped in the West would come and sit at his feet.
Mr. Javed Akhtar, we appreciate you joining us here on Headlines today this morning, even as you speak to us about this great loss, not just for the world of music, but for the country, for world music really, in more senses than one. Javed Akhtar taking us through his thoughts at an emotional time when we're talking about the passing away of Pandit Ravi Shankar, the renowned sitar icon. We have been getting in messages, in fact condolence messages that we've just been sharing with you here on Headlines today. We've got, I think, our Mumbai correspondent Lara still on the phone line with us. Lara, that's the thing about Pandit Ravi Shankar. We've spoken to Javed Akhtar, we've spoken to others who had the opportunity to work with him. Everybody was touched by this man in more senses than one. Lada, I'm coming back to you in just a bit. I think we've got Leslie Lewis, musician, on the phone line with us. Leslie, appreciate you joining us here on Headlines today on a day that is turning out to be highly emotional with the passing away of the renowned sitar icon, Pandit Ravi Shankar. Your thoughts, your memories, Leslie.
Yeah, thank you. All I can say is, when some musician makes a country proud and makes a country known all over the world because of the culture of the music and the nature of your country's music, and makes that everybody start understanding what's Indian music. It was Ravi Shankar, and the fact that he's left so much music behind. For a single person to be doing that, I think it's absolutely fabulous. And I'm sure he's had a great journey. We all passed away, but it's such a. I'm sure he must be happy that he's left so much and he's made India proud.
Leslie, coming from the background that you do, I have to ask you this. In music, that's what this man was all about. What is the kind of legacy really that he leaves behind? We're talking about Anushka Shankar, who's following in his footsteps. Nora Jones, his daughter, is also in the world of music. But what's the big legacy that Pandit Ravi Shankar leaves behind for us?
I think he really left behind the fact that Indian classical music is something that you cannot know worldwide. I mean, I've been a buyer. I've bought music all over the world. I've been buying music for years. And every store, whether it was in America, whether it was in England, when I went to the Indian section, world music, India, it was Ravi Shankar and Ravi Shankar and Ravi Shankar. It's only of late that there is more Indian artists, but he's the one who represented. And yes, through the Beatles, he made it popular, and I think that's great. I mean, everybody uses whatever marketing tool, but I don't think he tried to market it. It's just that, George Harrison loved what he was doing and came to learn from him, and then the world got to know. And I think everywhere I go, they ask me, do you play tablas? Do you play sitar? Sitar is just because.
So we appreciate you joining us here on Headlines today, right now, and speaking to us about the man who India is never ever going to forget. Let's also speak to Mr. Girish Karnad now, who's joining us here on Wake Up India. Sir, a big void, like I have been saying, that has been created by the passing away of the noted sitar icon. Your memories of the man, sir, your thoughts. What is it that India is going to miss so much with the passing away of Pandit Ravi Shankar?
Well, I don't think you're going to miss very much with his passing, because he's already achieved everything. I mean, he's created a new age. You see, it's not that you would expect him now to create anything more.
Okay.
Because he really, at a time when Indian musicians were unaware of the world outside and were very self-defensive about being musicians and their music being Indian music and so on, he was the one who looked out to the world. He played with the Yehudi Menuhin, he played with Japanese musicians, he played with Philip Glass, he played with all kinds of people, and gave Indian music a worldwide exposure. Now, my own personal connection with him came when he was given the Bharat Ratna. That Ravi Shankar had got the Bharat Ratna by, talking to ministers and canvassing for it and so on. And then I wrote to the press and said, sorry, that's not true, because I had written to the government. I had said he should get the Bharat Ratna while he's still alive, and we shouldn't wait till he dies. Like this virtually happened with Satyajit Ray, when he was very, very old as the whole thing came up. So I said, while he's able to enjoy it, we should give him. And then Ravi Shankar rang and said, thank you very much. He said very interesting thing. Jealousy is there everywhere all over the world, in the world of music, but they rarely speak out in the press. Well, I would say that's the closest I came to him. And then in London, when I was there, he would come and see me and so on. But otherwise, he's, what more can one say? I mean, he was an age and he created it. I mean, certainly, there were other great musicians. There were people like Ali Akbar Khan. There were people like, many other musicians of his generation who were also very great. But he was a creator of a cultural era. He was not just a musician. He created the new Indian music. I think that should be sufficient.
Mr. Girish Karnar, appreciate you joining us here on Headlines today and sharing with us what you have right now about Pandit Ravi Shankar. Well, we're talking to you about the death, the passing away of Pandit Ravi Shankar earlier in San Diego in California. He was 92 years of age. It's not entirely clear what the kind of position the family is finding itself in right now. But what we can tell you is that condolences have been pouring in, not just from within India, but from across the world. Right now, what we are also taking you through the fact is that, okay, I think we've got our correspondent Lada still with us from Mumbai. Lada, I've spoken to so many people now here on Wake Up India, everybody coming out and sharing their own memories of this man called Pandit Ravi Shankar. Javed Akhtar coming out and making that interesting point about how this was one man who was able to bridge that gap between Indian music and Western music simply because of the style that he chose to indulge in, to engage in. And that is something that obviously put India on the map at more levels than one.
Absolutely, Madam. Another thing which he, very pertinent point with which Javed have also made was the fact that he was of crucial help. Mr. Ravi Shankar was of crucial help during the entire copyright law, the passage of that law, and the nitty-gritties of it, and how as a parliamentarian he was of great help. And I think that also, to a great degree, tells us about the kind of person that this artist was. To not just contribute in terms of the music as well, but to also keep abreast with the current changing times, and to ensure that the musicians, the lyricists, and the singers do not have any kind of loss when it comes to the issues of royalty and issues of profit sharing, to which he was understandably exposed because he was such a renowned international figure, and he had interacted quite a bit at the international platform. So the fact that he shared that knowledge and he helped the Indian artists to get access to all of that without really having any reason to do so, because it wouldn't have really benefited him since he already had all of those things sorted. I think that really tells us also about how he was responsible, or he felt very responsible towards the cause of the Indian artists as well.